Hi everybody, welcome back to the Saffron Box. I'm Yamini and today I'll be talking about the retrograde motion of Jupiter. So we know that on the 4th of September 2023, Jupiter shall become retrograde in the sign of Aries where it is currently transiting through. And this retrogression is going to last till 31st of December 2023. So this is about a period of 4 months where Jupiter is going to be retrograde in the sign of Aries. For the first 2 months, it's going to be conjunct with Rahu, since Rahu is also in the sign of Aries itself. And then thereafter, when Rahu moves out of Aries into the sign of Pisces, Jupiter continues its retrograde journey within the sign of Aries alone. Now here, the interesting thing is that Saturn is also currently in the sign of Aquarius, and right now Saturn is also retrograde. So Saturn is casting its third aspect on Jupiter. So there is a Saturnian impact on Jupiter also right now, right? And when while Jupiter is retrograde, while it is in the sign of Aries, when Sun transits into the sign of Libra, where it becomes debilitated. Libra is the sign of debilitation for Sun. That is when Jupiter and Sun will be aspecting each other as well. So Jupiter will be retrograde and Sun will be right there in the 7th house from Jupiter in the sign of Libra, and that too debilitated, right? So these are certain important points which are there, which we have to keep in mind while looking at the retrogression of Jupiter, while looking at the journey of Jupiter through the sign of Aries, right? So I'll be talking about the impact of this retrograde Jupiter on all the 12 lagnas, on all the 12 ascendants. And for this, before we go ahead, as I always mention, keep your ascendant in mind. You'll be able to understand, grasp the effects in a better fashion. Keep your ascendant in mind and do check the ownership of Jupiter. So see the houses with Jupiter rules, like see the houses where Sagittarius and Pisces fall in your birth chart, right? So these are the two important things which you have to keep in mind. And of course, needless to say, and I think my audience is pretty mature now to understand this, that transits alone never bring results. It is the promise of your birth chart, number one. Then the kind of dashas which you come up with in your lifetime, and then thereafter the transits play up, right? So the quality of your birth chart matters first. So if your birth chart promises good, for example, it promises good wealth yogas, or promises a phenomenal rise in your career, and your dashas are also supporting it, then the transits are going to deliver the results to you, right? So transits are like delivery agents. Whatever has been packed has already been packed, it has been dispatched. Now it is the delivery agent which is just knocking your door, ringing the bell and handing it over to you. So that is the role of the transits which take place. So this is always something important to be kept in mind. Apart from that, whenever a planet is retrograde, like Jupiter is going to be, whenever it's retrograde, it comes closer, right? So the cheshta bal increases, the will of the planet to deliver the results in astrological terms increases. So the cheshta, or the urge, or the will, so to say, increases. So does that translate into a positive result for you, or does that bring you negativity? That again depends on the kind of chart which you've got. What is the planet? What is the status of that particular planet in your chart? Is it a functional benefic? It is a functional malefic? What kind of rulership, and where is the placement, right? So those are the nitty-gritties. But in general, one must know which is a functionally malefic planet for you and which planet is always going to be a benefic for you, right? So now going on to the 12 signs, going on to the 12 ascendants, I'll talk about what kind of results or what kind of effects can we expect out of this retrogression of Jupiter in the next 4 months, right? So going on with Aries ascendant, if you have a Aries Lagna or Aries ascendant, Jupiter is becoming retrograde in your Lagna itself, and it is the ruler of the 9th and the 12th houses as well. So this translates into long journeys for you, a lot of time being spent away from home. For some it could be migration, it could be relocation as well, because of studies, because of any other reason. You might be traveling a lot, you may have traveled, you may like to travel because of vacations or anything. So basically you stay away from your home for long durations, you make plans like that. So that is highly expected. Your luck can favor you, your luck factor can get enhanced. So while you go out, luck works with you, right? Luck shines on you. And this also translates, this particular transit or this particular retrogression also could translate into big ticket expenditures, right? So you spend on big things, you spend on things which are in a way beyond your means, or something which is not purchased on a regular basis, right? Something which you purchase offhand, a very big item, right? So it could be an item of luxury, it could be anything. Big investments can also be made here. Moving on to the next sign of Taurus. So if you have a Taurus Lagna or a Taurus ascendant, Jupiter becomes retrograde in your 12th house, right? It owns the 8th and the 11th house. So, and for you, Taurus Lagna, Jupiter is a functionally malefic planet. The very ownership of the 8th house, and then coupled with the 11th house, it's a Trishadaya Bhav. Jupiter becomes a malefic. And then it again makes a retrograde movement in the 12th house. So the 8th and the 12th houses, two Trika Bhavas, two malefic houses are getting activated in a way, right? So here you have to be extremely careful about your health. Any chronic issues have to be dealt with in time. There is a chance of high medical expenditures as well, so you've got to be careful there. Any kind of diagnosis which has to be done, try to do it in time. I'm not trying to scare you over here, but yeah, if it qualifies for you, if you are in that age and stage, or if you have a history of chronic illnesses, your dashas are also indicating rough patch in terms of your physical health, then this is something which is, this transit is going to be important for you. Apart from that, some people may be changing their jobs, relocating. There could be a sudden change in jobs. Suddenly you get some opportunity and you move out. Suddenly you make a shift in your role, etc. So these kind of themes can play out. Otherwise, materially it can be a fulfilling time. High income and high outflow. So high inflow and high outflow, both can keep working in tandem. Taking care of your health and being very cautious, not doing anything risky is highly important. Then I come to the next ascendant of Gemini. So for Gemini, Jupiter owns the 7th and the 10th houses, and it is becoming retrograde in the 11th house. It's going to be conjunct with Rahu also for some time initially, and thereafter it's going to be on its own. So here I would say that with regard to your name, fame, new opportunities, new deals, for some of you even a chance of getting married, getting into a matrimonial alliance, meeting somebody, all these things are on the cards. And I would say that this is going to be a good period for the Gemini ascendant. You should make use of this time. Make sure that you're reaping the rewards, getting the rewards of all your efforts which you have been doing for so long, right? So this is a time to shine. Make sure that you project the work which you do pretty well, and your time to shine is definitely around. Then I move on to the next ascendant of Cancer. So if you have a Cancer ascendant or a Cancer rising, Jupiter is becoming retrograde in your 10th house. Interesting, Kendra Bhava. And it is the owner of the 6th and the 9th houses, right? So it owns your bhagya also, it owns your efforts also, it is the lord of upche bhav as well, and trikon lord as well. So Jupiter's movement or Jupiter's retrogression in the 10th house brings in a lot of focus at your workplace, focus on growing at work. Luck can favor you over there. You may get the support of your superiors or your mentors also as such, but make sure that you're dealing with your colleagues is good, right? So you're able to manage your colleagues at workplace properly, and you're not letting any ego issues come into the picture. So 6th house is getting activated. 6th house is also the house of enemies. So sometimes it happens that one gets very casually, we get into some banter, and somebody gets offended, or somebody gets offended. So that is something which you have to take care of, especially at workplace with your colleagues, right? Then I move on to the next sign of Leo. So if you have a Leo ascendant or a Leo lagna, then in such a case Jupiter becomes retrograde in your 9th house, gets conjunct with Rahu also, where it is conjunct with Rahu right now, and it is the owner of your 5th and the 8th houses, right? So there could be some kind of transformation, some kind of movement, journeys can take place, right? You could visit some holy places, you could pray to your Isht. Some of you may get into some kind of a mantra sadhana. You would like to spend time in prayer and meditation and concentrating on your Isht Dev, concentrating on the divine energy, right? So all these things, somebody who's in occult or who's into studying scriptures, Vedic scriptures, all your holy books, etc., they may also find this time very interesting. Your interest can get enhanced in all these things. You may learn better things. You may travel to learn better things also, right? And this is also a good time for people who are working in the space of banking, insurance, finance, etc. For them also it's going to be an eventful time. New opportunities can come up. You should use your creativity to handle new projects as well. Then I move on to the next sign of Virgo. So if you have a Virgo ascendant or your Virgo rising, then in your case Jupiter is the 4th and the 7th lord, and it is becoming retrograde in the 8th house. Not a very great place, especially with Saturn also being in the 6th house and aspecting Jupiter also, right? So this is kind of a sensitive time in terms of your physical health, well-being. Any chronic issues, any health issues have to be dealt with. Even minor symptoms, you should go and get yourself checked up. Do not do any risky things. Do not be too much of an adventurer. If you drive, please drive carefully. Do not overspeed. So all these things you've got to take care of. This is not a great time to get into anything risky. So whether it is a new business deal which looks very good, but it may fizzle out in time, right? So something which is too glittery, something which is too good to be true, try to avoid that, or at least postpone the decision for about 4 months and take it later with proper advice, with proper information. So do not be impulsive around here. Do not make any hasty sales deals also. So check around whatever you've got, right? Then I move on to the next sign of Libra. So if you have a Libra ascendant, Libra rising, then Jupiter is becoming retrograde in your 7th house. And remember, Jupiter owns the 3rd and the 6th houses. It is a class 1 malefic planet for the Libra lagna, right? So Jupiter is a natural benefic planet, but for the Libra lagna, Jupiter is of course a malefic, right, owning the Trishadaya bhavas. And now with becoming retrograde and then aspecting the lagna also, Jupiter gains a lot of power or a lot of strength. So here the first thing which it might affect is your relationship with your spouse, your marriage, right? So here it's time to handle things very coolly, try to maintain domestic harmony, do not get into unnecessary fights or ego issues with your partner. That is something which you'll have to do, which you'll have to manage, and you'll be the one who'll have to manage it, because the partner is pretty strong, sitting strong wherever he or she is. So this is the time to keep your cool and understand the other person and adjust, kind of adjust with whatever is happening around, and not let your ego issues and small differences flare up into big things. This also applies to people who are in some kind of a partnership, right? So that is again something which is important, which you have to take care of. Then I move on to the next sign of Scorpio. So for Scorpio, Jupiter becomes retrograde in the 6th house, and it is the owner of the 2nd and the 5th houses, right? So this is a time to take care of your health, your daily routine. If you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to do something for your physical makeover, physical transformation, this is the time to pay focus over there. This is also a time to deal with competition. So if you're appearing for any competitive exams, you're appearing for any contests, etc., then use your intelligence, use your managerial ability, use your time management effectively to combat any competition, right? So that is again something which you will have to see. Seek your family's support for new matters, for new issues which you are coming up with, which you're dealing with. So family, finances, all these things are going to come into the picture. Some hidden opposition can also disturb you once in a while. Somebody who seems good but is not a well-wisher. So hidden opposition can come. Make sure that you are maintaining a good tone and tenor while talking to people, and not offending people with your speech or with some general banter, right? So hidden opposition can trouble. Think before you speak is what I would say, and take your family along in decisions. Take your children along if they are old enough. Whatever you're doing, keep your kids with you, right? Then moving on to the next sign of Sagittarius. So if you have a Sagittarius ascendant, Jupiter is your Lagnesh, owns the 1st and the 4th houses, and it is retrograde in the 5th house, which is a trinal house, and from there it is also going to aspect the Lagna. So it is going to be a good movement for you, Jupiter becoming retrograde and aspecting the Lagna. The Lagnesh is gaining strength. So matters related to yourself, where you use your own intelligence, where you take some new initiative and you want to do some new things, your ideas have to be put into action, your creativity is involved. This is going to be a good time. So take this time to shine around and handle whatever new opportunities come your way. Jupiter is also going to be aspecting the 11th house from the 5th house, right? So a lot of your material desires, small, big, can get fulfilled during this time as well, depending again on your natal chart, on your natal dashas which are going on. There could be a lot of focus on kids, children related matters, etc. as well, right? Then I move on to the next sign of Capricorn. So if you have a Capricorn rising, Jupiter is going to become retrograde in the 4th house, and it owns or it rather rules the 12th and the 3rd houses. So not a very positive planet for your Patrika, for your horoscope. But yeah, Jupiter coming into the center, aspecting the another Kendra Bhava, that is the 10th house. Professionally, this can be a good time, professionally elevating, professionally satisfying, but at the same point in time, there could be a lot of travel, there could be a lot of relocation, happening for some. So job related travels, or relocating totally, moving out of your house, moving into a new house, etc. All these things can also take place. Avoid any land deals, land or property, or big vehicles, etc. if you are dealing with, if you want to deal with, you want to sell them, or you want to purchase anything new, especially regarding land or property, etc. Be a little careful, study the other party properly, and do not be impulsive. So any deals, I would rather say that you wait for some time before you crack a deal, before you make a deal with somebody else, right? So you've got to be a little careful over there, right? Then I move on to the next sign of Aquarius. So for Aquarius, Jupiter becomes retrograde in the third house, and it's conjunct with Rahu for some time. Then it stays alone in the sign of Aries, and it owns the second and the 11th houses. So the house of gains, the house of wealth, or the house of your finances. These two important houses are owned by Jupiter as such, right? So there could be a lot of focus on your material gains, needless to say, right? So focus on gains, focus on income sources, focus on how do you fulfill your desires. So there could be family money involved somewhere. There could be family finances which you've got to focus on, invest, etc. So some gains can come your way. So materially it's going to be a good time. For some of you, this may also be a time which brings in some matrimonial alliances. You meet somebody interesting, you want to go ahead, if you are in that marriage or matchmaking phase in your life. So those things can come up. Jupiter's retrogression here can also bring out a lot of creativity in you. So if you are somebody who's creative, who has an artistic side, I think all these things, you can monetize your creativity also. So such opportunities can also come up. Then I move on to the last sign, which is Pisces. So for Pisces, Jupiter is the Lagnesh, owns the first and the 10th house, and it is going to become retrograde in the second house, right? So here a lot of focus would be on family, money, finances, your pocket, your own personal assets. So if you have any issues related to these, I would say clear them up, clear the air about finances or other things within your family. So the focus should be all family. Anything which is related here, especially if you're staying in a joint family or you have a business with your family, joint family business, etc., then you've really got to focus on the money matters, right? So put your ego aside and deal with issues in a practical manner. That is my piece of advice to you. Otherwise, work related, this could be a great time. Jupiter is in trine to the 10th house. So the Artha trine is activated. So work related or finance related, this is going to be a very active time. Some of you may see an additional source of income also, right? So here all your matters related to money can get sorted out. So if some pending dues were there, if you had made some claims or some returns were expected, some stuck money, all these things can start resolving themselves, but you'll have to work for it, right? Remember, Saturn is aspecting Jupiter also with its third aspect from the 12th house. So while you make efforts there, it may fructify into something positive. Yeah, so that was all about the 12 signs, the 12 ascendants, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Before that, before I leave, if you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.